Nicol's Psychological Commentary, Volume 5, Amwell, June 6, 1953, Objective Consciousness. At the level of consciousness of man asleep, everything is seen subjectively. To see objectively what a thing or person is like is, among other things, not to criticize or judge. To be critical of others is only neutralized by being equally critical of oneself. For when we see that whatever we criticize is in us, in that respect, we pass from a relatively subjective to an objective state of consciousness. People become mirrors for us, and we become mirrors for them, as Gurdjieff said. We are told elsewhere not to judge lest we be judged. Also, we are told that what measures we meet will be measured unto us. This reciprocal relation between ourselves and the universe or others, for other people are part of the universe, is clearly given in the work teaching that as we change our level of being, we come under fewer laws. And in the work phrase, your being attracts your life. Since people cannot see their being, they judge subjectively. That is, they judge it or criticize it from what they have been taught is right or proper from the associations. Our work exercise is to try to see things without associations. If people had objective consciousness, they would not judge or criticize or blame others. All that very considerable, unhappy and quarrelsome part of life would fall away from them, for it belongs to the second state of consciousness, which is almost wholly a subjective state. In it, things are not seen as they are. The fourth state of consciousness is wholly objective. At this level, everything is seen as it really is. There are no illusions, and no appearances or pretenses are possible. The invisible, hidden person is clearly manifest, as well as the invisible outer. Your inner thoughts and feelings are made transparent, as also are all your secret desires and deeds and schemes, and all your life extended into the fourth dimension. If you meditate often on this, you will probably conclude that as you are present, you could not endure to exist amongst people in the fourth state of consciousness who saw through you. In fact, you would not know how to live among them. Your polite conversation and manners and even your charming smile would be useless. You would feel very awkward, especially because of the second state of consciousness. People continually lie. They have to. Social life is based on lying, if you reflect. Now, people may touch the fourth state, which is objective consciousness, before they know the third state, which is self-remembering. If they do little of what they experience and realize while in the fourth state remains in their minds and memories, perhaps only a phrase or word that seems to have no meaning. This is because they fall from the objective fourth state straight down to the subjective second state, which they cannot see anything as it really is. For the sensual mind is limited by the senses to the surface of things. It sees the outside of things and is not fit to comprehend what the fourth state of consciousness can see. Bohm, trying to describe an experience of objective consciousness, wrote, "I can only liken it to a resurrection from the dead." He realized that the prison of the sensual mind is like death. After another experience of the same level of consciousness, he says that it seemed to gaze into the very heart of things. His surface consciousness was replaced by a depth of comprehension whereby he saw the essence use the properties of whatever he looked at. He wrote, "In 1/4 of an hour, I saw and knew more than I had many years together at the university. I saw and knew that the being of all things." Notice his rate of impressions has greatly increased. He saw in a short time what would have otherwise taken a long time. In the fourth state of consciousness, he took in more impressions in a quarter of an hour than he would have in many years at a university, the second state of consciousness. I must say that I doubt if he would ever have seen what he had seen in a lifetime at a university. A higher state of consciousness is not characterized only by an increased rate of perceptions and a deepening of them, which gives greater meaning, but by a state of bliss, that is, a feeling of release. This is because you are no longer in the power of all that belongs to your ordinary level of consciousness. You are released from prison. You have achieved for a time the goal of the work. The state will pass. However, because you have not yet paid enough to retain it, you pay by applying the work to yourself. The state momentarily comes as a reward. All positive emotion or bliss comes from such a reward. Such happens as belongs to the sensual level is as nothing in comparison. The reward of positive emotion will not, of course, come to anyone who is working from only self-love. As is said in many recent papers, the self-love and its motives cannot open up the suprasensual or inner parts of our centers. Another quality of love is needed. Now, as regards what was said about the necessity of having the third state of consciousness developed in order to retain any experience of the fourth state, if you remain at that level in the sensual mind, you will not be able to develop the third state of consciousness. Because when you try to remember yourself, you will think of your body as being yourself. The literal sensual person regards his visible body only as real. What he cannot see and touch cannot be real. There is no evidence, he will say. So, believing himself to be his body, which he attempts to remember himself, he remembers knowingly or unknowingly remembering his body. This keeps him on the level of the sensual mind in the extreme external divisions of the centers.